Gentlemen, and welcome back. It's been a minute, but welcome back to the NOLA Theater Talk Show. My name is Alan Smason, and I want to welcome you all for being here, etc. I plan on filling you up to date exactly what's been going on, but in the interim, I can tell you that I've been pretty busy, and theaters, thankfully, have started to open up again, so there's been less of a need for me to continue to do as many of the shows as I was doing. At one point, we were doing shows every Monday and every Friday. And now that theaters have pretty much opened up across the board, with very few exceptions, we don't have to really broadcast this show as often as we did in the past. The idea was to connect our New Orleans theater community during the time when the theaters were shuttered. So now that the theaters are pretty much open, I think that we'll see fewer and fewer of these shows. But when we do have an opportunity to address something like we have tonight, a brand new theater production company, then we want to take the lead and introduce them to you, and vice versa for you all to become acquainted with them as well. So tonight we're very fortunate. We have on our show a number of very talented people, but the first person I want to more or less introduce you to is the artistic director of the group that is being talked about tonight, and that is Fat Squirrel Productions. And the artistic director is Andrea Watson. Andrea, welcome to the show. Want to thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you tonight, Alan.
Please tell me, and if I'm not mistaken, this was a project you had planned to unveil earlier than 2022, wasn't it?
Yes, actually, this has been one of those things that I think has been percolating for quite some time in the back of my head. I have done a couple forays into event production companies that focused more on sort of one-off events rather than theatrical productions as they traditionally are, with an extended run. And actually, I had plans to launch with our very first reading series was a reading of Sarah Kane's plays. And I actually had those scheduled before Hurricane Ida. And then, of course, as we all know, many things were put on hold. And fortunately, this was only put on hold and not completely scrapped. But so earlier this fall, thinking about the fall of 2021, we really would have put that first foot out there, but we were delayed a bit, as many things were, but hopefully for the best.
Well, and again, nothing like trying to put on a new theater production company, finding venues, etc., for you to produce during a pandemic. It's certainly going to slow you down, if nothing else. So, again, congratulations on getting your season together. We're going to be announcing all of the season. Now, it only goes all the way to 2022. Did you do that deliberately? Are you planning to have 2023 revealed at a later date, or are you just going to see how 2022 goes and then move on from there?
So the deliberate design of the season is to run from April or May-ish. Our series, our Sarah Kane series, was in April. Our first full production is opening in just a couple weeks in June, but from May-ish through December. And that's actually a very deliberate design. Mardi Gras is very early next year, this coming year, and I have no desire to sort of fight with Carnival or
Jazz Fest later. Yeah.
Absolutely not. Especially for a smaller company. And it was just something that I don't feel led to combat with.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
So most of our seasons, as they're planned now, will actually run rather than September through June. We'll be doing May through December, and then our dark season will be that carnival and festival season.
As anybody who knows who's watched the show from the very inception, I said, we need to have something as an icebreaker. So literally, I'm going to make a drink every time that I have the show. And you've got yours as well there. So tonight, I didn't know what you brought. What did you bring into the room?
I just tried and true, just a vodka soda. Nothing fancy, but
no particular
nice
vodka, right? No,
no.
not like a
when it
small
comes
batch
to
like
vodka,
Tito's or anything like that.
when it comes to vodka, I usually don't mind doing just a sort of normal vodka. Other liquors, I'll
Okay.
a little. The brand and quality matters a little more to me.
So we're going to get to the name a little bit, but you named your production company Fat Squirrel, and of course I couldn't come up with a squirrel, but I did come up with a wabbit. So but the first drink I thought of making was what? The obvious choice, pink squirrel, right?
Of
Well,
course.
a pink squirrel requires Cafe de Noia. Cafe de Noia is sort of like a cherry kind of very pink looking liqueur. And I, unfortunately, for those of you who were hoping I was going to make a pink squirrel, you're going to have to be disappointed tonight because Cafe de Noia is not made that I can find it in a kosher available product. And I only use kosher products in my home. I only have anything that's kosher. So instead, I have another animal. This is a banshee. A banana banshee, as they call it. It's made with 1 part of cream de banana and cream de cacao or cacao, depending on which one would say, chocolate, if you will, and heavy cream, shaken over ice and then strained. And I actually had enough to make 2 of these. So the first one I'm going to have right now, and I'm going to sneak away and get the other one later. So it's really not a drink; it's a dessert. It really is amazing. They used to make those over at Nick Giovanni's Big Train bar, which was off of Tulane Avenue. And that's where I got first time to find out about it. Fat Squirrel. Where did that come from? What is that about? What does it mean?
So I am a big fan of classic Disney. And by classic, I mean truly the very early decades of Disney. I have some really cool memorabilia around my house from those early decades. I'm a big fan of the work of the 9 Old Men, as Walt Disney called that original group of animators. I've got an original animation cell in my house from actually the movie that this comes from. Someone's going to look this up and I'm sure message us that I'm getting the year wrong, but 1964, I believe. The Disney feature, the animated feature, was Sword in the Stone. And it is truly one of my favorite films. It's my favorite animated film. It's my favorite Disney film. And in that movie, it's the story of a young King Arthur. And when he first meets Merlin as a young boy. And Merlin attempts to teach him a bunch of different lessons by turning him into different animals. So that he turns into a fish, he turns into a bird. And there's one scene that Merlin and Wart, young Arthur, are turned into squirrels. And there is a pair of amorous lady squirrels that begin chasing Wart and Merlin, and the young one chasing Arthur. Merlin sort of makes a joke about, you can never get away, the redheads being very precocious, and he's sort of having a laugh about this young female squirrel chasing Wart, and then he turns around and there is just the most vivacious Rubenesque squirrel that takes a liking to Merlin. And so the fat squirrel is that's where she comes from. And I am the fat squirrel. I am,
well, you're certainly an attractive fat squirrel, and we're gonna talk about that anyway. You actually have been on the scene for quite some time. I don't want to say you're an old actress, but you've been around for a bit. And a matter of fact, I went looking back in my old files to see if I could find some things. I know you were involved in Killer Joe, which was a wonderful production. I think that was over at what was the Always, but it might have been. Was it Jim Fitzmaurice's at that time, or was it a different group? I don't remember who was producing at that time.
But so many times, yeah.
I remember that, and then of course I went back and as I said, I was looking through some of the older pictures that I ran across, and I know that that not too long ago you were involved in a particular production with a number of people. on the West Bank, and it was a very famous piece that was done back in the 40s originally, called The Women, right? And there you are, right, vivacious and in that red dress, leading the cast, along with I know that that's the costume designer is to your, what would be our left, right, to your right.
Ashley Heathcock,
and she's now in films doing some wonderful work, and of course Richard's wife now, right? Is it
Yes.
Ashley?
No, Ashley is the name of the costume designer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, she also was a performer of burlesque, etc. from time to time, but she also was that's to the left, more to the left. And then I know Ashton Ackridge, right? Yeah.
Yes.
And
wonderful young performer, super vivacious on stage, lovely young woman. I was really glad to have her on this show.
And Denise Ponce is there, along with Margot Fanning, all the way on the right. So there's a few people in there and that is a long play. It's like 3 hours long, if I'm not mistaken. So
and we had I believe around 50 women in the cast.
Right. Now again, it's a little bit dated, but it was written by, wasn't it by somebody like Claire Booth Luce or somebody like that, somebody from that era. Okay. All right. So Sunday of last week, not yesterday, but a week ago yesterday, you had a gathering to kick everything off, and there you were. I mean, I want to show everybody. Where did you get that lipstick too? That was it was an unusual shade.
Purple is my favorite.
Yeah, and that's of course in the center is Mary Pauley and her wonderful husband Ken Pauley, who've been involved in theater for again a while. I don't want to say a long time. And one of the other people that you had sort of to announce the season, a great actor who tells me he's retired now from the state where he was doing his day job. Don't give up your day job. Right. James Wright, and then the lovely Lucy Faust. And thankfully, ladies and gentlemen, we are blessed because Lucy is here with us. Indeed. And how are you tonight, Lucy?
I'm doing great. I'm thrilled to be here.
This is the first time you're on NOLA Theater Talk, and we are delighted to have you. Hopefully not the last. And you've been very busy doing lots of films, and of course involved in a number of other projects. I mean, the days of your having to be confined to a local regional setting are over, I think, for us. We're glad to have you back from time to time, but you're making great inroads nationally and regionally. So good. I remember when you were working at, was it Atlantic Theater? You were involved with a couple of their shows, sort of in repertory there for a little bit. That was
yes, the Atlantic Stage 2 up in New York, up in Chelsea.
Yeah,
I just really enjoyed working with them. Did a couple of shows up there, and really got to kind of cut my teeth in New York that way. So it was such a pleasure.
And we're going to be able to talk about your input because of the fact that you are involved in the first two of the productions that Fat Squirrel is producing. Now, let me ask you a question. Who's directing these? Are you directing? Because Andrew, you've been a director before. Are you going to be directing these at all, or are you going to put them off on somebody else?
I'm directing Bestival.
Okay.
We are actually super excited about the gal who's coming in to direct Dusa, Stas and Vi.
All right, yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit though. But for Bestival, you're directing.
Yes, so I'm directing. I'm directing one this season, and I'm co-directing one.
Okay.
And the other two are going to be in the capable hands of some very excellent artists.
Okay. All right. So now Bestival, let's take a look. Lucy's obviously in the front there, and then we have Stephanie Garrison and Bradley Warschauer, correct?
Yes.
And these are basically what, one acts?
Yes, we have two. Lucy's written two pieces. They're about 10 minutes. Steph has written two pieces that are a little longer, about between 20 and 30. And then we have Bradley. We have a monologue from Bradley, which Oh, you unfortunately were gone at that point, but we did hear it at the launch party. He blessed us with a rare public reading by the writer of a monologue. Bradley's more of an essayist. That's really his medium, and so we took one of his essays and he converted it a bit to be more friendly to a monologue format.
Okay, so would he be considered a monologuist, or would he be considered an essayist? I mean, I know that's probably splitting hairs, but does he do these things in public where he just speaks them all the time, or does he more or less write them just for publication?
I believe he's done more specifically. He does it for the page more than
Gotcha.
For performance.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
that would make sense. And Lucy, can you tell me a little bit about what you're going to be doing, the two works that she mentioned in Bestival?
Sure. Andrea, stop me if I say too much. I don't want to, give all of it away, but I have two pieces that center on characters from the Bible, and as Andrea so eloquently put in her sort of synopses about them, I basically look at them as real people, sort of deep, like we all know them from the Bible stories. I'm speaking specifically about Moses and then about Abraham and Isaac. And so those biblical stories are well known if you know the Bible. But I've always been interested thinking about the more human side of characters in Bible stories and like folklore and tradition. So I sort of take a more human look at those characters and explore the circumstances before and after the stories through which we know them already.
So again, these are going to be Bible stories, but not the kind of Bible stories that would be necessarily on a religious station. They're going to have a little bit more of a humanity aspect to them and more of the story background than the faith and practice of exposing them as prophets or whatever.
Right. So while they're based on the Bible stories, they themselves are not quite Bible stories. They're just for instance, I've always thought about what happened after Abraham, and like what happened after the angel flies away. Abraham he almost sacrifices his son, he almost kills his son, and then the story kind of ends. But I've always thought, what happened after that?
Right.
Wow, must have been so awkward. So that's where this play begins, and it sort of explores the father-son relationship. And Moses, Moses going up the mountain. I've always wondered, basically it's like what happens behind the scenes of these stories, and that's where those two plays spring from, because I always like thinking about the parts that we don't know and the parts that we haven't heard. I always like thinking about that aspect of stories.
So what are the titles, or what's the title of that? Was that one or is that two?
One of the plays, the play that focuses on Abraham and Isaac, is called The Ties That Bind. And the play that focuses on Moses is called In the Biblical Sense.
Very good. Just because I happen to know a little bit of Hebrew, the binding of Isaac is called the Akedah. And that's an interesting aspect, the ties that bind. I like that. So very interesting. All right, I'm looking forward to that. Now, that's the first of your shows that you're going to be involved in. And again, we mentioned the other two. What are the other titles that they're going to be doing that we mentioned in Bestival that we're going to have from Bradley, his essay that he's going to be reading? Do we know the title or?
Yes, it is called How to Manage Your Chronic Nostalgia.
Okay, and then Stephanie?
Stephanie's pieces are called the Bechdel Conundrum. And the Bechdel Conundrum and Solitary are the two pieces.
Related to Alison Bechdel, or I'm assuming?
the Bechdel test, yeah. So what the theme of sort of the programming of the evening is re-examining the familiar. And so Lucy has kind of examined how her pieces fall into that category, looking at these familiar characters and looking at them through a more human lens. And so Bradley's monologue, How to Manage Your Chronic Nostalgia, is looking at how exactly do we think about nostalgia, and what do we label as nostalgia, and are we labeling it correctly, or is it some other branding that it deserves? And then Stephanie's pieces actually bring us to, again, familiar characters. So the Bechdel Conundrum is famous Shakespeare heroines or villainesses, however you want to brand them, and actually in therapy, in group therapy, trying to and I've actually had the pleasure of doing that piece once before. It's fabulous. Steph's the absolute smartest person I know. Yeah,
and of course, anybody who knows Alison Bechdel, of course, was in Fun Home. That was basically her story that was taken and made into a musical. Of course, New Orleans' own Michael Cerveris starred and won a second Tony Award for that particular show, which I saw twice, and I was very pleased to see. But the Bechdel test that they talk about is can you get two female characters on stage for longer than 15 minutes to not discuss a man? And that's pretty much a failure for most characters and in most plays. Correct? That usually that doesn't happen. So exactly. Again, for I guess for Allison, it's important because of course she's got her aspect of that all relationships don't have to be between a man and a woman. Could be between two women, in which case she'd like to probably. I guess we'll have to have a reverse Bechdel test one of these days. Where are we going to have characters who don't talk about women all the time too? But we'll have to wait to get to that for a long, long time, I think. So let me just see if I can forward a little bit for the season, because I know Lucy's got other things to do. But your next show after that, this is a very interesting one. Dusa, Fish, Stas and Vi. Is that correct? By Pam. Yes. And her, it's GEWS, right?
GEMS, Pam Gems.
GEMS, sorry. So how did she pronounce it? Gems, basically? Gems?
I believe so.
Okay, good. All right, just want to make sure because you never know. Now, this is a story about four ladies sharing a flat in London, correct? They're sharing what we call an apartment in the States, but when you go across the pond, they call it a flat, right? Mm-hmm. So this is a comedy, or is it more involved than just a comedy? It has some dramatic aspects to it as well. Certainly
has some dramatic aspects. And this is a piece that is in this season because, all of the pieces in this season are pieces that I thought about. What if I sat around with my friends for a number of years saying, we should do this show. I want to do this show. Wouldn't it be fun to do this show? And this is actually one that Lucy brought to Fat Squirrel, and she's going to be presenting it. She's going to be co-producing.
Good.
And starring in it.
Good.
And I'm so excited. So actually, I'm going to let her do the bulk of the talking about it.
Tell me about Dusa, Fish, Stas and Vi.
Well, this is a play that I discovered in college, and I actually did it for my senior thesis production when I was in college. And when I first read it, it affected me so much. It was so impactful and so lovely and so smart and so effective and so relatable, and something about relating to something so well, something that was written in the 70s. I really loved this play, and I had a wonderful time putting it on for my thesis. And I think I've always wanted to do it again because I love it so much. But especially now that I have some post-college kind of real world experiences and kind of some real life under my belt, I am very curious to come back to it, and because now I'm in a different place in my life, and I am extrapolating all sorts of different things from the text and from the characters and from their stories, their emotions. So I've been wanting to do it for so long, and I know I've talked to Andrea about it, and it's such a unique title, and it's such a It's such a unique play. And the fact that she remembered that it means so much to me, I was so gratified and so touched by that. And when she gave me the space and the opportunity to put this on, I mean, I'm so excited to do it, and I'm so excited to involve, because Andrea is also starring in it, and I was so thrilled to read it through with her and see what she thought about it, and we're really looking forward to putting together a great cast and putting on this really wonderful show, because I didn't know Pam Gems before I came across her in college, and I don't think a lot of people are. She's not really kind of a mainstream, playwright. So I'm really glad to bring this piece that was written in the 70s, a revised version. She wrote a revised version in the 90s, which I prefer the original. So
okay.
I'm looking forward to pulling that out. And
are you going to be one of the performers in the piece, or are you just going to be producing?
I'm going to be one of the performers, and I am very much looking forward to co-producing it with Andrea, because this is my first foray into producing. I'm usually most comfortable on the stage being told what to do, so this will work another muscle of my theatrical experience for sure.
All right. Well, I think she did a great job in expounding what it's about. I want Lucy, I want you to stick around a little bit while we bring in the next piece that they're going to be doing before you go, because I know you're going to leave in a little bit. But I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the next piece, because the next piece is kind of interesting. It's very involved. It's a piece by Justin Maxwell, and it's got a title which probably people would probably say, can you come up with a better title than that? I mean, it's the Canopic Jar of My Sins, a medieval morality play for latter-day postmodernists. Now, it might have the longest title since the assassination of Marat Sade, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And again, in case anybody's wondering, I have to tell you, canopic jars are these wonderful, jars that used to hold the body parts of the ancient Egyptians when they were being mummified. And so that's what the canopic jars, in case you're wondering what that is. And in case you're wondering why I bring this picture up and talk about canopic jars, is because guess who's in the room with us? There he is himself, the playwright himself, Mr. Justin Maxwell. How are you, Justin? Can I hear you okay? Or you say hello? Make sure you're not oh no, we got to make sure we can hear you. You're not muted on my end. Okay, we might have a problem. Well, we can hear you, we can see you, we can't hear you. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to kick you out, and I'm going to bring you right back, okay? Just come right back in, and let's see if that does anything. There you go. All right. We're going to try that one more time. Sorry. Sometimes those things happen, and, just have to deal with it.
Well,
anyways, my surprise. Yes. My surprise.
He is my favorite living playwright. Justin Maxwell is. Well, so
he's done quite a number of things of great interest. I just was at the Tennessee Williams Theater Festival, and he did a very unusual piece there, a piece that had not been performed ever, and they're basically trying to flesh it out. And they were doing a reading, and he might talk a little bit about that again. But I'm hoping he can come back, because it's sort of awful that he wasn't able to do that. I got a couple. Somebody said Justin, so Justin! I'm not quite sure who those are. I have to tell anybody who doesn't know, if you go to your Facebook page and you go in, you sign in StreamYard.com/Facebook, you go to that particular area, it'll allow you to put your real name in. So we see Justin. Let's see if we can hear you now. Say hello.
Okay.
Yay! Back again. So while you were gone, we were talking about the wonderful show that you did for the Tennessee Williams New Orleans Literary Festival. That was a world premiere, kind of a reading, right?
Yes.
So I was telling them about that because it never been done before. That that anybody tackled that. So it was a piece that he had done that you trained. I guess you basically adapted it for a play, correct?
Yeah, it's the piece I did for Tennessee Williams was the Tennessee Williams Theater Company was Moise in the World of Reason, which is a novel that Williams wrote in '75, and that is kind of terrible. And I really wanted to take on the adventure of trying to turn a novel into a play, which I like doing adaptations. But this is essentially like a guy sits on his bed and feels sad about shit for an entire novel.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It has everything going against it for theater, and I had to jump at it.
It was very interesting, and again, I was pleased to be able to be there and sort of seeing it, the birthing process. Although I'm sure it wasn't your birthing process, but for it to be shown to the public, at least for the first time. And so many of your things I've seen as well. But obviously you've captured Andrea's heart. She enlisted you to this particular piece. Again, the canopic jar of my sins. Please, in just a little bit of a way to explain what is this about, because the title itself is intriguing, but I'm not sure that everybody's going to get it. So maybe you can give us a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, to get abstract and kind of highfalutin about things, it's a play about culpability. I wanted to take a lot of people who all thought they were the good guys and let them figure out that they're not really the good guys, and sort of play around with that. So the play consists of the play is about Ralph Wiley, who is the inventor of the first true plastic, and at the start of the show, he has been kidnapped and pulled into a Stalinist-style tribunal that is run by an angel, the Angel of Canopic Jars, a dead bird called the Goonie Revenant, and Roger Waters, who was the bass player for Pink Floyd. And we put him through the trial, and then at the end of the trial, the start of Act 2, he wakes up on the beach of Easter Island with the last Easter Islander and Robert Oppenheimer. And at that point, shit gets weird.
Okay, then it gets weird. I love it. Okay, you had me at Easter Island. Okay. Robert Oppenheimer, that's another one. Okay. Well, again, that is going to be the third of your productions, right? And I wanted to make sure that Justin was here before Lucy got off, and wherever you get, where you headed off to tonight, Lucy? You going to be doing some more work, of course, that you're going to take us away?
I have some work to finish up. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But thank you so much for letting me, stop
we appreciate you. Justin's going to stick around for a little bit. I don't think he's going to stay the whole time, but we want to keep him as long as we can to talk about some of the things that he's going to be doing. Maybe talk a little bit more about canopic jars. But in the meantime, thank you for being here. Thank you for making this night so special. And again, I'll look forward to Bestival, which is in June. Do you know the dates offhand?
June 13th through 23rd.
Perfect. And then, of course, we're going to come back for Dusa Fish, Stas and Vi, and that's going to be in August, correct? And I don't know the dates, so you tell me. 8th.
It opens August 8th. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Thank you,
All right.
Alan.
The wonderful Lucy Faust, thank you for being with us, and have a wonderful night. And again, we'll see you soon. All right.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. And then there were 3. So we're back. So Fat Squirrel Productions, those of you just joining us, again, my name is Alan Smason, and I want to thank you all for being here tonight on NOLA Theater Talk. These shows are broadcast to 3 different areas, live stream to the NOLA Theater Folk Facebook group, the theatercriticism.com Facebook page, and my own YouTube channel. And those of you watching, who are not members of Facebook can watch it for free on the YouTube channel. Those of you who are members of Facebook but don't want to join necessarily the NOLA Theater Folk group, then you can watch that on theatercriticism.com's Facebook page. But please understand, it's not on theatercriticism.com, which is a website I created just for reviews by people from across the country. And it's for theater critics to be able to do their own work and post their own, I guess you could say, articles about shows and things of that sort. And we have a full range of different people. So if you've ever wondered about, the national tours that are coming around, you'll see different reviews of different tours before they come to the Sanger. You can read how good or how bad they're going to be when they get here. So again, critics have their own opinions. So we appreciate the fact that some critics might like something and other critics might not. Justin, as a playwright, speaking of critics, what do you think of critics? This is an open-ended thing, but I mean, are they a necessary evil in the work, or do you think that maybe we've gotten to the point now where everybody's a critic?
I mean, everybody's got an opinion, but I'm pretty in the grand scheme of things, I'm actually pretty pro-critic. I've published a lot of literary criticism in various places over the years, including Rain Taxi and American Theater. So I like it in the abstract. I think sometimes critics can kind of wander off purpose in some ways, but that's just part of the game, you know?
Yeah.
If they're asking, is the show fulfilling what the show's trying to be? Great.
Right.
If they're asking, is the show fulfilling their personal aesthetic? Meh, problem.
Well, as a producer, Andrew, like I say, you've got to have a sort of a suspicion about a critic sometimes because they can make or break a show. Not necessarily your show, but on Broadway, back in the day, a bad review by Frank Rich or a bad review by Ben Brantley could be the death knell for a show that had just opened. But then again, it's interesting because a lot of shows that get panned by critics, they seem to take on a life of their own with the fans, the public. A good example was Pretty Woman, which got pretty much solidly panned by all the critics and given a thumbs down by, it seemed like, everybody, and yet it stood on Broadway and continued to make audiences filling up the theater from time and time again. So goes to show you that sometimes the critics don't know what the fans really want, and that's it's not necessarily up to the critics to determine what the fans are going to really respond to. Sometimes it's just they want to see the show, no matter how good or bad it is. They're coming. Now, nowadays, of course, on Broadway, the way things are with the cost, it's back in the day, you used to be able to get a show on Broadway for under $20. And then of course the British musicals came in and the prices started to go up, and the big productions, etc. All of a sudden, you were looking at $100, and now it's easy to see somebody spending, for a family of three or four, upwards of $500 or $600 for just tickets. Not to say anything about the concessions. So
it's interesting that you bring that up, Alan, because one of the things that is sort of built into the foundation of Fat Squirrel is that the invested members of a production, being the cast, the crew, the production team, the designers, actually at the beginning of a process of a show have a say in things that affect ticket sales, such as ticket prices, what if we are offering fixed ticket prices or a sliding scale, what kind of discounts we might offer, and even down to, are we offering press comps for this production? And the invested members of each. So at the very beginning of rehearsals for Bestival, that was one of the first pieces of business we did. I sent an anonymous survey to the cast and the invested members and asked them, how do you want to handle these things? Do you want to offer pre-sale at one price, at the door at one price? Do you want to offer press comps? Do you want to offer and so I thought it was interesting that you brought up the question of reviewers and critics and their role in it. Each Fat Squirrel production is going to be a little different in that way, in that it'll be all of the members making that decision of are we going to give up a couple seats for a production for a critic to come in, or are we going to hold those to sell them? So
yeah. Let me just say, I don't believe that there's a sense of entitlement, but if somebody wants a critic to be able to see a show when it's ready to be seen, and certainly there's a other aspect to that you could invite the critic to come to a final dress rehearsal and it won't stop you from losing a seat, in other words, for a paid performance. But again, is it ready to be seen that night, or do they still need that one night to get everything together? And if you don't feel, uncomfortable in inviting, for a final dress rehearsal, I don't ever have a problem with that, because I don't ever, when I know I'm coming for a final dress rehearsal, I'm a lot more forgiving in terms of my expectations. That doesn't mean I'm giving them a pass, but by the same token, I understand that this is not the actual night that it's opened. And I understand it's sort of a compromise. I need to be able to maybe get in on a Wednesday in order to be able to do my review prior to let's say a TV date that I have to do for stepping out or something on Thursday. And so by allowing me to come in on a Wednesday, you're giving me the opportunity to be able to review it instead of waiting a whole week later. And then, that's not going to help you sell seats that first weekend. Then if it's only running 2 weekends, like many of the shows do for JPAS, then you have to say, well, gee whiz, Alan helped me for 2 nights. He was able to help me on Friday and Saturday night and maybe Sunday afternoon. That was it, So that's not a good thing either. So I always look at it as a contract. You're giving a ticket or tickets to me to be able to enjoy the show, to be able to see it, to make my own assessments, and I'm going to be turning that review in to let other people know what I think of it, and then hopefully people who respect my opinion will be able to either say, yes, you're right, no, you're wrong, or be able to make the judgment for themselves. Under no circumstances do I believe that it's a bully pulpit, that it's used for retribution or for revenge, or I don't like somebody, so I'm going to write bad about them. Believe me, I have lots of opportunities to do that on a regular basis, and that's not at all what I.
How many do you dislike, Alan?
No.
You may be a better person than I am.
Yeah, no, but I have to say though, the fact of the matter is that there are some people in broadcasting, in radio and TV. I've run across some people who are not nice people, and I just try to, as I do in life, deal with it as best I can, and not necessarily pick a fight with them, because it's easy to do that. But that what does that do? It doesn't do anything for you or them, and maybe for a short time it makes you feel good, but in the long run, it brings you down to their level. And the point is that you don't need to be, you don't need to be that way. You can usually take the high road, as Michelle Obama said. They take the low road, we take the high road. I'd like to think that's kind of where I am. And again, I may not be successful in all of my endeavors. I may not get something right, and if I don't get it right, a lot of times I will make that apology and change it right away. If I get a spelling wrong, or if I get a name wrong, in some other way that I put the wrong person in. Sometimes we do these things in a hurry, and we are human. We do make mistakes. So I'll be the first person to admit it. But I think that it's an interesting thing, because nowadays with Twitter and with so many other social media, Facebook, etc., but it's difficult to kind of find a place where critics fit. We don't have just strictly a print media like we used to have, where people would write about something about theater and it would go into the paper the next day and people would read about it. And people don't read anymore. They get their information off of these devices, rather than opening up a paper and reading. And while you're still essentially reading on the personal devices, it's not the same thing. The reviews are much more succinct. They don't go into the kind of detail that some of the other critics in the past were able to do. And having a lot of pictures and things of that sort is really a luxury than it used to be. So I don't know, Justin, if you am I right or am I wrong? I mean, what do you think?
I think the way that we engage as audience members with criticism has definitely changed. But it's a complex dynamic, because a lot of audience members are going to critics to figure out what they're going to see. And because I'm going to theater for a pretty complex set of reasons, I tend to not engage too directly with what critics are saying. In part because just as a playwright, the critic is talking about the production and not the script. And in part because I tend to go to things because I know, like,
Right.
So yeah, I think Alan, you're right that the role is changing, and how people are engaging with criticism is definitely changing.
And again, more people now are using, more people now are blogging. They're putting out their own musings about theater, etc. Not necessarily to a respected source. They're doing their own thing, so to speak. And you talk about people that we love to watch. Comment from Becca Chapman, who we all love. Thank you, Becca. We love you too. Miss seeing her on stage, but it's a wonderful thing when things work, when the script is good, when the direction is right on, and they get it, and then of course the acting comes along with that as well. And when you've got that kind of a production that comes together, it's a riveting experience. It's something that you. And it's not just for me as one person, it's everybody. It's a communal experience. Everybody's in that same darkened theater. It's not like, in a movie picture theater, because it's all been cut up. It's been edited. It's all been done ahead. These things are being done live. We're experiencing everything the actors are doing at the same time in the moment. And that's what makes theater so very special. It'll never be the same the next night, no matter how well rehearsed you can try. There's always going to be an inflection here, a difference here, more of a different kind of performance. Everybody is different every night, and that's the way that I love being involved in theater, because of that. It really is something that is special and makes for I think a positive experience and much more enjoyment than you might see. That you could get from a different kind of entertainment. A film has its place, but it's not the same. I mean, they're shot out of sequence, and it's the director's vision. I mean, in the case of a play, the director's important, but like you said, Justin, it's those words that start first. Now, in a film, the scriptwriter's words may say something on the page, but it's the vision of the director in translating it that comes across on the screen, right?
More so, there's a really good book called Drama in the Age of Film. It must have come out 15 years ago now. It talks about how the core difference between film direction and stage direction is that in film, the camera lens serves as the audience's eye, and the director's manipulating that, whereas on stage, the audience has their own eye, and the director is influencing how they look and where they shape things.
Right. It's interesting, yeah.
Yeah. The first time I saw Grounded at the Public, there was this moment where we're watching part of that intense monologue, and we look up, and suddenly the whole audience gasps, because this field of little crosses has somehow appeared out of the sand, and none of us saw it happen. It was just there, and it was delightful.
Wow. Yeah.
No pressure, Andrew.
Right. Let me before we get too much longer into it, Justin, do you need to stick? You need to go, or are you able to? We want to talk about the last productions that we've got because they're going to take place where at the is yours taking place at the Fortress of Lushington as well? Is that right?
So yes.
Okay, so the Fortress of Lushington is on, and again, it's not Burgundy, it's Burgundy. We're New Orleans people, Burgundy Street. So, but again, the Fortress of Lushington has had some wonderful plays there. So yours is going to take place there in October, and then take a little bit of time off, I guess, for Thanksgiving in November, et cetera. And then in December, the wonderful Dane Rhodes is going to be leading a cast and I will just put up the picture, because the story is that it's not a good thing to do in terms of saying the name out loud. So I'll just say the Scottish play, and we'll leave it at that. But at the Fortress of Lushington, now is that going to be your biggest cast, Andrea? Is that going to be it?
It is going to be the biggest cast, and just even in our attempts to keep it small, it is going to be our biggest cast, because right now for Bestival we have a cast of 7. We have cast of 7 for Bestival, Dusa Fish, Stas and Vi is 4, Canopic Jars is 4, and the Scottish play will be the most robust.
I want to get back to that, but I didn't ask Justin what he brought into the room. So that, you know, I had my banana Banshee, or by Banshee, which is another animal, right? What did you bring in?
I brought in just a mixture of cranberry and raspberry juice.
Okay, that's good. Nothing is wrong with that, you know. As I said to everybody, you know, I just like to have a little something, because some people like to bring something in that is evocative of something that they do, or they want other people to realize an aspect of their own personality, and I love it. So you're a juice guy. That's good. That's good.
As an introvert, I like an object to hide behind. It helps.
Very good. So again, back to Macbeth. I said it. Oh, it's terrible. I'm gonna have to spit 3 times and walk around my house now. Anyway,
been around in a circle.
So tell me a little bit about Dane Rhodes, who unfortunately was supposed to be with us tonight and could not join us. He's involved in another production, and I had made plans very carefully to have him appear last night, and unfortunately it didn't work out. You know, we were going to tape record it ahead of time and then play it back tonight. So you're going to have to be the mouthpiece for Dane. Tell me what that particular.
I've been doing that for 20 years, Alan.
So
the eyebrow went up very wonderfully.
Tell me a little bit about how this is this going to be a straight ahead typical version of the play, or is it going to be updated in some way, or I mean, who's directing, etc.? Tell me.
So this is the one I'm co-directing. I'm actually co-directing this with Stephanie Garrison. And as I mentioned earlier, she is the smartest person I know. She is a Shakespeare scholar. She absolutely, no one knows the Bard in my life like she does, and I can't imagine doing this without her guiding me in it. And so we're actually setting the piece in 5 Points, Manhattan, in 19th century 5 Points, Manhattan. If you're unfamiliar with sort of that historical reference, if you've ever seen the movie Gangs of New York,
yeah, of course,
it was, and that tension of not enough square footage of Earth to live on and to live in and to occupy is sort of what the crux of that decision to set it there was. The rolling moors of Scotland don't speak as well to my feelings on the play. Every time he makes the decision, his world actually gets smaller, and so I needed something that was much more suffocating than the expanses of the battlefields and those types of things. And so I thought alleyways were much more indicative of what I see.
And I look, there's nothing wrong with updating. I like taking something that was done back in the early 17th century, say, and bringing it up to date in terms, or updating into a different time period. I mean, it's worked very well for operas. I mean, I remember the version of Tosca that was done set back in fascist Italy, and Scarpia is a fascist, and it worked. I like the production that Jonathan Miller did of Rigoletto, where he updated it to 1950s New York, Little Italy, and made it closer to our times, and we could relate to people being in the mob and the mafia, et cetera, and how that related. But again, this is we're dealing with this particular play. Have you cast Lady Yoo-hoo? Do we know?
I have.
Okay, is that going to be revealed yet, or we're going to keep that
Justin, do you want to share who's playing Lady Macbeth? I am playing Lady Macbeth.
Are you?
I actually get to play Lady Macbeth twice this season. I'm really excited because I play in Steph's piece, the Bechdel Conundrum in Bestival. That is the female Shakespeare characters. I get to play Lady Macbeth in that, and I actually am playing Lady Macbeth in December. And this is another one of those that Dane and I have sat around the table for how 7 years, 8 years, a decade, I don't know, saying we should play the Lord and Lady. We should play the Lord and Lady. And of course, Michael Sullivan, as often as he is with us, also, and Michael the porter. So Michael Sullivan's also joining the cast, yeah, we've been talking about playing these roles together. So it was one of those things that I'm not doing Macbeth just because I want to do Macbeth. I'm doing Macbeth because I want to do Macbeth with Dane, and so I needed somebody. This is why I needed someone like Steph, who really because I'm going to be on stage quite a bit, and I need somebody who really is going to just be able to channel what the vision for this play is when I can't see the whole picture.
So Shakespeare, is that something that you are going to try to do every year, a Shakespeare piece or a piece of let's say longstanding in theater circles, or is that just something you're trying out this time?
I hadn't considered sort of the pattern of a classic each season. There's certainly many classics that I hold dear, and people who are dear to me hold dear. So I hadn't considered it yet. I certainly haven't struck it from the possibilities, but we'll see.
Well, we're getting towards the end. So Justin, I want to thank you for being with us. I'm going to let you go a little bit early. But again, the canopic jar of my sins, I'm going to leave it at that because the rest of it is just too long for me to recite again. But that's going to be in October at the Fortress of Lushington. And again, congratulations on all the work that you've done. And I know that anybody who has seen your work has been moved by it. And I hope that you'll continue to prosper and do well here in New Orleans. It's great to see you, and thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you. It's been great to be here. I'm really excited for the work Andrea is doing and what it holds for the future. And I've got an idea for a Lady Macbeth play down the road. So we'll talk off. Yeah.
All right. Very good. Thank you,
Good
Justin
night.
Maxwell. Appreciate you being with us tonight. And again, before we leave, again, I want to remind everybody that you have a website, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to give out the name now so we can get that out for everybody to go to?
Yes, it's fatsquirrelnola.square.site, SITE. And that's where we host all of our ticket sales and those just information about upcoming productions and what's going on with the season.
All right, I got to see is this right now? Fat Squirrel NOLA.
It's .square.site.
That's site. Okay, let me fix that then. All right, we'll fix it. I tell you what, sometimes trying to do stuff on the fly doesn't work. All right, let's see if we can get this together again. Okay, square.site, SITE. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think we got it now. Just gonna make sure we got it right there. Save it and do it again. All right, there we go. Is that right?
There
fatsquirrelnola.square.site. So
Mm-hmm.
anybody who needs to get tickets or to get more information, they can go there and hopefully we'll find out more about Fat Squirrel Productions. Again, we have, just to recap one more time for those of you who got here a little bit late, we have the Bestival starting out in June. Again, that's starting out with works by Stephanie Garrison, Bradley Warshauer, and the lovely Lucy Faust, who you saw earlier. Then Lucy's going to star, among other people, in Dusa, Stas and Vi. That'll be in August. Then in October, Justin Maxwell's The Canopic Jar of My Sins. And that'll be followed in December at the Fortress of Lushington. Also, Dane Rhodes and his production that you're going to be directing and starring in, as well as Lady Macbeth. of Macbeth, Shakespeare's Macbeth. So there you have it. And again, I can't tell you how glad I am that we were able to talk tonight. And I want everybody to know that I've got a number of other shows that will be coming up, but this seemed to be an opportunity that we should not have missed out on. And Andrea, again, best of luck with everything with the season, etc. And I hope that Fat Squirrel, is here to stay, and that you'll have an expanded season next year, and we'll invite you to come back again at that point. So thank you for being with us. Okay.
Thanks so much, Alan.
Have a great night. Stick around
You
for a little
too.
bit. I'm just gonna remove you, but you'll be backstage for a little bit. So we're gonna wrap things up right now. It's 9:00 and time for me to get going. Again, thank you for being with us on NOLA Theater Talk. My name is Alan Smason, and you can watch us again on NOLA Theater Folks Facebook group if you're a member. If not, check it out on theatercriticism.com's Facebook page or my own YouTube channel. Next week, we hope to have some representatives from the National World War II Museum, perhaps, to talk about the upcoming Stage Door Idol competition, and possibly about the blonde bombshells of World War II, the show that they're getting ready to do. So stick around for that. Hopefully, check back next Monday. And again, I will see you at the theater.